Hi, this is Marek from Tryb. Today I'd like to tell you more about Tiny Towns, a game I have received from Alderac. Thanks for sending it for review. And in Tiny Towns, you're a mayor of a small society of lovely creatures, and you have to create a town that is great to live in and also efficient. Every player will get a player board, and you have 5 different resources, and using the different resources you will have to construct buildings. Every building has its own abilities and scoring options, and you will have to try to get as many victory points as you can. So this is kind of abstract logical game where you have to create a town on a grid 4x4 and get most points. You can play from 5 to 6 players. Gameplay takes, I think, half an hour, more or less. Now I will show you how to play this game. I will tell you more about the rules, and then after that I will tell you my opinion on this game. So this is Tiny Towns when it's set up on the table. On the top you have 7 different buildings that you will be able to construct in your town. Here you have your player board. Now it's empty, of course, but you will build your buildings here. You have 16 spaces in your town to build different houses. You have resources. There are 5 types of resources. You have glass, you have wheat, you have bricks and stone and wood, and you will use these resources to create different buildings. There are 7 types of basic buildings and special buildings called monuments. I will talk about them in a second. But all the buildings the cards look like this. Here is this building icon, and here are shown the resources that you have to gather on your player board in order to create the building. And here is the special scoring ability of the building. So this building will give you 3 victory points if this building is fed. So this is a cottage. And what does it mean? It means that you will also have to construct farms. You need 2 wheat and 2 wood to construct a farm, and 1 farm fits 4 buildings anywhere in your town. So if you construct a farm, then you can create 4 cottages, and they will be fed, so they will give you points at the end of the game. And every building has different abilities. Like this one will give you 1 victory point, and you may treat this building as a wild resource for future building. So if it's somewhere in your city, you can treat this building meeple as a resource. Here you have, for example, a tavern, and each tavern will give you victory points based on your constructed taverns. So the more taverns you have in your town, the more victory points you will get. So during the game you will try to construct as optimal a town as it gets. You will place different buildings. It's not as easy as it seems, because you have only 16 spaces on your player board. And how can you construct a building? First you have to choose the first player. The first player is called a master builder, and the master builder picks any resource available from the 5 that are in the game and will name it. Let's say I'm a master builder and I will say brick, and every player takes 1 brick, 1 cube, a red cube, and places it somewhere in the town. Let's say I will put it here. And now the next player is master builder, and let's say the next player chooses glass. So I take glass, and all the players take the glass cube and place it somewhere on the player board. Let's say I will put my glass here. And let's say again I'm the master builder and I'm choosing wheat, and I will put my wheat here. So now I have a pattern like this on my player board. And if you look at the cottage, it looks like this. So I can construct a cottage. So right now I can take the blue house, the cottage, and I can place it anywhere on my player board where are in one spot of one of the resources used to build the cottage. So let's say I will put my cottage here. So I remove all the resources from my board, and I have one cottage. And this is how you build different buildings. And let's say another player is a master builder and says brick, and another says brick, and I'm again master builder, I say glass. So again I constructed something like this, so I can create a tavern. So I take a tavern, I put it here, I remove the resources, and I have two buildings. The more buildings you have here and the less free spaces you have, it's harder and harder to construct buildings, because to construct some buildings you need 5 spaces to create it, for example here. And the game ends when all the towns are complete, so you have either buildings on all spots on your player board, or you have some single spots where you cannot really build anything more, and then the game ends. As for the buildings that you can construct in your game, there are a lot more of them, because each building, there are 7 types of buildings, and apart from cottage, there's always the same cottage here. All the remaining buildings are in 4 different, let's say, variants. So if you have, let's say, you have the red building shown here, you have 4 different cards. You have farm, greenhouse, granary, and orchard. And when you set up the game, you randomly pick one of the red cards, let's say orchard. Now you randomly pick one of the black buildings. For example, it will be factory. So every time you play the game, you have different set of buildings, so your town will be different, and you will have to differently plan your strategy to score maximum points. There are also monuments, and these are specific cards. You can play with monuments or without them, and they work like this, that every player at the start of the game gets 2 monument cards, and you can look at the cards, you choose one and discard the other, and this is your secret monument. You have this specific building here, and you can construct it when you gather specific resources on your player board. Then you can construct the monument, and you will gain different benefits, like sometimes you will get victory points. Sometimes you will be able to do something, like here you get 1 victory point for each unique building type other than monument in your town. Sometimes there was a card that you may place all future buildings on an empty square in your town. So a lot of different abilities, and they are like unique cards, and every player gets one of them during the game, so you can construct it. There is also another variant to play tiny towns. You will use the resource cards. You have 15 cards like this, and you shuffle it. You remove you discard 5 cards, so you are left with 10. And there is no master builder, and you cannot let's say choose the resources you want, but you use this card. So you take the first card from this deck, and each player must put, in this case, glass on player board. Then you take the second card, and this is stone, and instead of picking a third card, each player may choose any resource they want. So the first 2 resources are from the card, and the third resource is any resource you want. And you continue like this. Then it's another card, and another card, and another resource you want. And if the deck runs out of cards, you shuffle all the 15 cards together again. Then you again discard 5 cards, and you continue playing like this. So in this variant, it's a little more, maybe let's say, random, because out of 3 resources, 2 are drawn from the deck, but it's also quite fun. And if you want to play solo, of course you can, because normally this game plays up to 6 players, but if you want to play solo, you are also using this deck of resources. You have to shuffle it. you will use all the 15 cards, and in your turn you draw 3 cards. Then you pick one of the resources that you want to place in your city. Let's say I will choose stone. I will put stone here. I take the card, I put it at the bottom of the deck. I will replace this card with a new one, and again I have 3 resources to choose from. Now I can, for example, choose brick. I will take brick, take another card. Now I have wood, and the game continues like this until I cannot build anything more in my town. Then I will calculate my score and compare my score to a chart in the rulebook. But if you play solo, you can also use this variant that I told you about, the town hall variant, where you shuffle the deck, you remove the top 5 cards, and then you take one card. You have to put this specific resource in your town. Then you take another card, you have to put this resource, and instead of taking 3rd card, you can choose any resource you want. So you have 2 options to play this game solo. So this is how you basically play Tiny Towns. Let's go to the summary. Tiny Towns is a very simple game, as you have seen. You can explain the rules in, I don't know, 60 seconds maybe. So it's really easy to teach it to new players. But even though the rules are very simple, the game is quite fun, and you have to think a lot if you want to score a lot of points and create the best town, because you have 7 different buildings. You have always the cottage, but the 6 remaining buildings are randomly drawn from the building pile. So each time you play the game, you have different buildings, different combination of buildings, and every building has some unique scoring abilities. So each time you play the game, you will have to think about different strategy, how to construct your town. I like the idea that there are a lot of different cards, building cards, so every game looks a little different. You also get the monuments, and this is fun because at the start of the game each player draws 2 monuments and leaves 1. So this is your own unique building that you can construct, and you also have a deck of monuments cards. And if you play with monuments, each player has a unique building in the city, in the town he constructs. So this is quite fun. A lot of thinking, but easy rules. You can easily play with older kids if you explain them how every building scores at the end of the game. But the game is very accessible. As it goes for solo play, you play just to beat your own score, so you don't have an opponent. But it's fine. A lot of abstract puzzle game, they are beat your own score games, so it's a relaxing experience. The solo game takes 15-20 minutes, I think, so it's a cool game to play when you have a coffee break. You can play 2 different ways. If you play solo with the regular variant, where you have 3 resource cards, you pick one and place the resource in your city, or you can play the town hall variant, where you draw a card, take the resource, draw another card, take a resource, and instead of drawing the 3rd card, you choose any resource you want. So you have 2 options to play it solo. So that's all I can say about Tiny Towns. It's a simple game with simple rules, but quite a fun gameplay. If you're a fan of abstract puzzle games, you should definitely try it. There are also 2 expansions. I have not played them, so I'm not sure what you get in the expansions, but they add some probably new options and new elements to the base game. Visit me on Instagram, visit me on Twitter, and visit me on Facebook. I will leave links in the description of the video. Click the like button if you like this video, and subscribe to my channel to see some other cool videos about games that you can play solo. So thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye.